Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fund It Fast Chats. Welcome to a bonus webisode of the Fund It Fast Chats. I'm Rochelle Butler with the SJV CEO. We are super thankful that you're here with us today because we have got something really amazing to celebrate. So I'll give you just a little bit of background on the Woohoo water heaters. The SJV CEO has been working with the GK12 team over the past few years. GK12 is PG&E's government and K through 12 program, which is implemented by Wildan. We have done a couple of webisodes in the past on GK12 offerings, so I'll be sure that you have links to those in your follow-up email. This working relationship has helped us tremendously to deliver valuable resources and benefit to our partners across the service territory. And we're always really excited about that. So we wanted to take a couple of minutes to celebrate our success with the heat pump water heaters and to also fill you in on our nearly 10.5 million kWh savings for 2023 and how we got there. We also want to give some encouragement and some additional information to our local government partners who maybe they haven't participated yet or they're still on the fence. We want them to take a second look at the program because we think it's a really wonderful opportunity. So it seemed only natural that we have representation from the amazing GK12 team to help us celebrate this year's achievements and to talk about the program and fill in some gaps for our partners. So I would like to welcome to the Fund It Fast Chats Lou Jacobson, the program manager of the GK12 program. Welcome to the Fund It Fast Chats, Lou.
Thanks, Rochelle. Happy to be here.
Awesome. It's always awesome to have you here. So first, I just want to dive right in. How many water heaters have we installed in 2023? And what do we anticipate the program will look like in 2024?
Well, Rochelle, we've done over 190 units to date across 150 public sector facilities throughout PG&E's territory. And we're certainly not done yet. So we have a couple months left to implement. We fully expect that number to exceed 200 by the end of this program year, so the end of December. One of the things that I'm really excited about, and I'd like to underscore here, is the percent of those services in hard to reach communities defined by the California Public Utilities Commission and under-resourced communities. So of those 190 units, approximately 40% of all installs have occurred in hard to reach communities and under-resourced communities. So we're very proud of that. Now, as we shift into 24, we expect more of the same. Heat pump water heaters are just a wonderful program offering. We certainly don't want to slow down in that space. In addition, we want to grow our services into space conditioning. Now, this is somewhat challenging. Space conditioning can be more complex. Nonetheless, we do want to round out our domestic hot water services with space conditioning, and we're excited and eager to get that done. And only time will tell if we can actually deliver it. In addition to space heating, so electrification of heating and air conditioning, and water heating, we're going to continue to really focus in on effective financing. So that's going to be PG&E's on-bill financing without incentives. It's a 0% offering, and it works really well for lighting. So we're going to combine the electrification services with the effective financing mechanisms, hopefully to be able to continue to do what we did this year, deliver robust services to a wide variety of public sector actors throughout PG&E's territory.
Awesome. So I am really encouraged about where we are now, Lou, and I'm super encouraged about where we're going, what the next steps are. But one of the things that I kind of want to emphasize here is like with the heat pumps and with measures that are coming in the future, we really want to encourage our partners to get them now and to participate as quickly as possible. So can you discuss why that's important to kind of jump on things as quickly as possible?
Sure. As the state rolls out incentives for new technologies, over the years, we've seen a trend, right? And I think the LED lighting technology group's a great example. When LEDs really came into the market about a decade ago, they very quickly transformed the lighting industry, right? We were using linear fluorescent technology, incandescent technology, compact fluorescent light bulbs. And within a matter of years, that industry or that market really transformed from those older technologies to the LED technology. And as that market transformed over the years, we saw the incentives slowly be reduced and frankly become more challenging to access. And so today, accessing incentives for LEDs, it's frankly quite challenging because the assumption is it's just standard practice. If you go out to a hardware store or hire a contractor, of course, they're going to install an LED. And so as that transformation occurred, incentives went down and now are really challenging, hence why we're focusing on effective financing for lighting. We expect that the heat pump water heater technology set, along with even the space conditioning technology set over years, will follow a similar trend where those who adopt that technology early will get very robust incentives. And as time marches on, it's going to become more challenging to access those incentives, more costly, and frankly, more problematic. And so those later adopters of the technology will not have the same financial incentives as those who partake in our program today and over the next year or so.
Yeah, awesome. So, I do want to talk a little bit about this process. So, I realize, we have seen a lot of success, but there is some sort of, there's some ingredients in the soup, if you will, right? So, I'll talk a little bit about how the SJVCE works with Wildan and the GK12 program to kind of make this process a little bit more equitable for everybody. So, the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization, as an organization, we were sort of born back in 2007, if you will, but we were born with the objective of serving the 8 counties of the San Joaquin Valley. We have since grown to serve additional but specifically rural and hard to reach partners. We serve anybody who wants us, but that is where we try to focus our energies. And so these partners have traditionally had the most need because of their geography. They're actually more expensive for third-party implementers like Wildan to serve. And so what we do as an organization is we do the best that we can to try to remove as much of that upfront customer acquisition investment and cost burden. We try to take that out of the equation so folks like the GK12 team can do their thing, right? And so there's a couple of ways that we do that. One of them includes we try to do a lot of the upfront investment into the relationship with the customer. So we really are, in your communities and we're getting to know you and we're getting to know your needs. And that allows us to lend credibility to the programs. And what I found in the past is that our folks, they're much more willing to participate when they have someone that they could trust who has already vetted the program rather than like a random person cold calling or knocking on their front door, right? We also do a lot of, we put a lot of effort into pre-qualifying projects through our II or infrastructure inventory work. So for all of our enrolled agencies, we perform what is called a hybrid inventory / energy audit, which documents all of the agency's infrastructure. And by infrastructure, I just mean things that, use energy. And we put all of that information into a giant database. And this allows us to have something like a bird's eye view of where and how our agencies are using energy. So this allows us to help them identify opportunities more quickly, as well as to aggregate projects together regionally wherever possible. And so this system helps us help our partners kind of streamline the process, right? And quickly take advantage of programs like the heat pump water heaters and other programs that will be coming coming around the bend, as Lou was talking about earlier. So all that is not to say we haven't been impervious to hurdles, right? So we've faced some challenges along the way, many of which just comes from the nature of public agencies and how each one works very differently. And so a specific one that kind of comes to mind is the variability in the permitting process. And so, we have one agency on one hand that barely requires a permit at all to change out their heat pump water heaters, and another one that, on the other end of the spectrum, that has extensive requirements to even obtain that same permit to do the same work. So, Lou, if you wouldn't mind just kind of weighing in a little bit on that, on these types of hurdles, and maybe give an example or two.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Permitting is absolutely the hardest thing to assess, right? And so when we walk in and actually provide the service, the very first thing we do beyond working with our local government partners such as Rochelle and her team is to work with our internal stakeholder or champion within that agency. And often we try to request a meeting with their or their building official or somebody who has the ability to provide us a little bit more information about what the jurisdiction's expectations are, because we do see such a wide variety of different requirements. Having that initial conversation really helps us assess what we need to put together to be able to comply with that agency's requirements. Also, we have found that doing a pilot submission is effective, right? To get a sense of what they're actually going to want when we submit. So, for example, if we have a project with 20 different installs across 20 different sites, and we know that most of them are about the same water heater size, same context, we can put one application together. And often what we'll do is we'll submit it to that building official or one of that individual's colleagues and ask for feedback. And then that way we can get a better understanding of what they're looking at, what their requirements might be. And then once we have a good read on that, we can scale and we go to the rest of the facilities. We get those permits submitted and then we're off to the races. So it's been a learning curve, particularly with this technology group, because everybody seems to treat it ever so slightly differently. We can't really take a one size fits all approach. We found we really need to dive into that individual agencies' needs and address those needs where they're at. And it's been working really well. Now, there are a few other barriers, right, that I think are really common to the public sector that I'd encourage your listeners to consider should they engage with our program and you. And one of them is procurement. So public agencies need to, stay above board on how they procure professional services and contracted projects. And so often, even before we start wrestling permitting, right, we want to have a conversation about procurement standards and policies within that agency. Very similarly structured to permitting, right, we want to take a very individualized approach. And we understand that procurement may look different for every agency, again, not only based on public contract code, but on internal policy. And so as we engage, right, we're going to better understand procurement. How are we even going to bring a contractor over to get the work done? And then once we have a good understanding on how we can accomplish that, then we'll start talking about permitting, how we're going to actually get to our pre-construction status, and then of course move to install, which is the fun part. And beyond that, right, everything on the backside generally goes fairly smoothly.
Yeah, and the installation is the fun part. I've had the pleasure of being out in the field with the GK12 team and seeing some of these things, go in, be installed, and get started up and programmed and all that stuff. So you can see some of that on our Instagram page. We do have some video of that. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of wind us down here. I think we've hit our main points. But if you wouldn't mind, Lou, just kind of going through, if we had to kind of summarize this or condense this further, what would you say
Yeah.
the main takeaways from this morning would be?
Well, the first one is I think our partners, our team, our leadership here at Wildan, everybody is just amazed at the demand for this service. The demand far outstrips our capacity right now. When we look into 24, we're just, we're already building that pipeline and, scratching our heads on, how we get it all done next year, which is a phenomenal problem to have. But for you, when you're considering taking advantage of this program, please understand that our funds are limited and they're first come, first serve. So if you're interested, I really encourage you reaching out as soon as possible, right? And so your contact person is going to be Rochelle. I really encourage reaching out to her. She's going to be that independent, neutral stakeholder who's going to help walk you through this. And I firmly believe that she's going to guide you in a way that meets your interests and the interests of your agency. Once you get to the point of saying, yes, I want to talk to Wildan's government K-12 program, you probably have an opportunity, right? Not a lot of folks out there have done this. So there's probably a water heater or two in your agency to tackle. So start thinking about your procurement, right? How, and what does that look like to you and your agency? Because we're going to ask that question when we get on a phone call or a chat. We're going to say, hey, let's talk about procurement, how we make this happen for you. And then once we get there, always think about that middle part of this process, that permitting, right? Because once we get through procurement, we do the assessment, we identify opportunities, we're off to the races. And we need to talk permitting. We need to get through that so we can get to this fun part, which is actually getting the technology installed for you. So really at the end of the day, right, it's pretty straightforward. Take quick action while resources are available to you. Don't delay. Reach out to Rochelle. Think about your procurement standards and how that fits to utility programs. Consider permitting. And again, number one, if you need any support on any of this, please call Rochelle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as for our enrolled agencies, I probably have already reached out to you about heat pump water heaters already. So I'll be making my rounds on that. But if we haven't had the conversation, please feel free to reach out with any questions. We're going to make sure that you all receive an email with obviously the recording of this conversation, but also other conversations that are pertinent to this to kind of help you along that decision making process. Just as a reminder, you can find the SJV CEO everywhere. We are everywhere. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. You can find us on our channel on YouTube, on also on LinkedIn. It's all at SJV CEO. So we try to make it as simple as possible. And again, I would like to thank Lou so much for being with us this morning. It's such a pleasure working with you, Lou, and we are looking forward to doing more heat pumps in the future with you. So really looking forward to 2024. So thank you again.
Thanks, Rochelle. We are too.
Awesome.